Troubleshooter.
This is the story of the linesmen, those tireless sentinels of the nerves and sinews of our nation's communications.
And we see Donald, and he says,
"Okay, let him go."
And we see the sound traveling up the wires.
Foul weather never stops our troubleshooters. The calls must get through.
He turns it on.
Oh, Susie, they've got the keenest sail on Goidels at Simpson's.
And we cut to
Across the deserts and the wasteland.
and gets hit by lightning. Turns into a burnt match.
Where the lines stand exposed.
And this starts off a chain reaction. All the other telephone poles fall down like dominoes.
Exposed to the fury of the elements, the rugged linesmen stand prepared.
And he's screwing something into the ground.
Theirs is the pledge,
And he starts to pull, and all the poles start to right themselves again.
that even at the risk of life and limb, the service must be maintained.
And he takes the wire and ties it all the way around the top.
"Okay, boss, the lines are clear."
Hello, Susie. We must have been cut off. The phone service is terrible. Now, like I was saying, blah, 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 blah.
Dissolve 2, an alarm bell ringing. It's in phone control. Unit 545, Unit 545, please report to 5th and Main. Fix a broken crossbeam. That is all. And we cut to Donald listening, and Donald rears back when his antenna cracks like a whip. We see Donald careening around the road. And he zips all the way up the pole, turns his fanny around so that the belt that he's wearing loops around and clicks itself shut. He then puts the cross pieces together and starts to nail in a post. We cut inside and we see a woodpecker sweeping away in his home as the post is coming through. It gets so close he has to skinny out his body as it gets closer and closer. Donald reaches down for a tool. The woodpecker starts to peck on the post. Out pops the post. One foot comes out, another foot comes out, and everything starts to fall apart. Donald zips up.
"There's something very screwy about this."
And we cut inside and see them eyeball to eyeball. The woodpecker pulls back into Donald's face. And Donald sticks his finger inside the hole, trying to poke around and catch the woodpecker. The woodpecker rears back with a wide open mouth and Donald gets angry and starts hammering all over the pole. Cut inside and we see the woodpecker bouncing around.
"Yeah, how do you like those apples?"
And he starts to peck Donald's bill. He stops, but the bill is still clacking in reaction. And he winds up on top of Donald's head.
"Now you stay out of my signal."
Pokes his eye up. Donald anticipates and quickly duct tapes the woodpecker's feet to the wire. He ties it off.
"Okay, boss, let him go."
Starts pecking the duct tape, which comes through the receiver. This means war, and he walks over toward Donald.
"Stop, you blackhead brown woodpecker."
What's that?
"Get off the line, you blackhead. Oh, not you, boss."
And the woodpecker comes over and starts twisting Donald up. And he's hanging by one phone wire.
Mr. Duck, quit fooling around. Get that line fixed.
Cut back up to the top of the pole. And Donald comes up with the phone receiver and starts bashing away. Every time he bashes, the woodpecker pecks a new hole. ducks inside. And we see this lump going across the post. And then the glass cap pops off, and Donald tries to grab it, but he shifts out of the way. He grabs over here, and he shifts the opposite way, like an old shell game. Finally, he gets him, and then he pops up and starts to peck Donald under the chin. And the woodpecker takes off down the telephone wire, kind of doing a little Charlie Chaplin step here. He twirls and winds up back on his feet. Donald grabs hold of the wire and starts to yank. Cut to the woodpecker trying to keep his balance. Now Donald is pulling the wire hand over hand. Cut to the telephone poles, all starting to come together. As Donald continues the hand over hand, he not only gets telephone wire, he gets underwear on a clothesline. And he does one gigantic pull, and we cut to all the wires coming apart. Cut to Telephone Central. We see all of the red lights lighting up like a Christmas tree, and the shadow of his boss going crazy, tearing his hair out.
Mr. Duck! Mr. Duck! There's a madman pulling down our lines!
What?
And he looks down, and he sees all the wire that he's piled up. Okay, now he's gonna get tough. He starts shaking the wire. So he flies off and heads towards Donald. Donald pulls off the crossbar and rears back to hit the woodpecker. But the woodpecker pecks every time he swings. And we cut and we see Donald's left with Swiss cheese. The woodpecker pokes through one of the holes, and he flies back into the pole. Donald pulls out a drill, and the woodpecker pecks on the other side. Donald turns around, and he keeps chasing him around the pole, throws away the drill, pulls out a pneumatic drill, goes all the way down into the pole, but all of a sudden it's replaced by the woodpecker. He goes up into the sky and rears back and starts to peck underneath Donald.
And so, and we fade down, when night falls, the nation sleeps, confident that the lines are intact, knowing full well that the troubleshooter always keeps the lines clear at any cost.
Cut to Donald's hat. Woodpecker pops out, and the torn hat becomes a nest, and our happy woodpecker goes to sleep, and we iris out. The end. Hey, where'd Leonard go? Guess I didn't sell this thing.